The last Maharaja of Punjab has now lost his entire kingdom at the age of 15 and has landed in England. And things are about to get interesting. Hi, I'm Marie.
And I'm Nisha, and welcome back to Tariqi Tales. And we're going to pick up the story from where we left it off in part 1. So, Maharaja Duleep Singh lands in England in May 1854, and right off the bat, he mingles in very nicely with the royal family. The Queen adores him. She finds him very handsome, very elegant, and she loves that he speaks such perfect English. She was also very keen on getting portraits made of him, maybe because she found him so handsome, like this one that she had made by Franz Xavier Winterhalter. And we also add in some more paintings and sculptures that the Queen had made of him throughout this entire video. The Queen's husband, Prince Albert, was also very impressed by the straightforward and honest way of talking that the Maharaja has. He's in fact so impressed that he decides to draw up a coat of arms for the king. This is what it looks like. The motto that Prince Albert chose for the Maharaja is as follows. I'm not even going to attempt to say that. I'm just going to tell you what it means. It means to do good rather than be conspicuous. A conspicuous means to stand out. But honestly, in the British society, Duleep Singh was exactly that, heavily conspicuous, meaning that he stood out a lot and the people really wanted to get to know him. Why, you may ask? Well, other than the fact that he was very handsome and he had a very nice Indian king / British subject kind of a fashion style. And yeah, this is very important because he kept getting photographed over and over, and there were photos coming up in the newspapers saying that, this is what the Maharaja wore, and it was obviously very different. Now, other than that, the king is also very close to the Queen's entire family. He's become a regular guest at the Queen's house in Windsor and in Osborne, wherever the Queen may be. He's invited to all the major events and even some intimate ones like Prince Albert's birthday. He's become a playmate for the Queen's children, especially the incidences of him carrying King Prince Leopold on his back and, enjoying with the kids. So of course, all the British elite, the British elite society, they want to befriend the Queen's new friend. And these efforts towards friendship actually kind of led to some very funny incidents like the one we've linked above, and also some racist, darker ones.
Okay, but we'll get to those in a bit. But do you actually remember why the Maharaja wanted so desperately to come to England in the first place? He asked to come to England and was urged by his guardian, Dr. Logan, because he wanted to go to school and university. But he was later on kind of discouraged from this and was told that he couldn't go because he was too old now. He was 15, and that's not the age you start school, apparently. Some things were left unsaid, that his age wasn't a problem as much as his race was. But this was something the Maharaja didn't know. And as we mentioned in part 1, the Maharaja didn't know that this had anything to do with him being brown at that time. When the Maharaja actually came to England, the Queen took a great deal of interest in his education and life. And although they were on very good terms and she had other activities to do as well, she invested greatly in recommending tutors to the Maharaja and kind of seeing how he studies and what he should study. He studied all the major subjects and even learned other languages such as German and Italian. The Maharaja still wanted to get that university experience, you can say. He was really keen on getting into an institution, but he was told again that you can't. And this had a terrible effect on his ongoing private education. This was one of the very first brushes the Maharaja had with racism in England, but he only understood this much later on in his life because right now, no one was saying anything to him to his face.
So, coming back to the Queen's involvement in Duleep Singh's life, she was also very keen on getting his opinions on things, especially in one incident that comes to mind, which invokes a lot of emotions. Is one where Duleep Singh, the Queen, and the Kohinoor diamond, which the British had basically taken from Duleep Singh, all came together in the same room. And this was a very awkward encounter because the Queen wanted to know the Maharaja's opinion on the diamond the British technically stole from him, and what he thought about the new cut of the Kohinoor. We have a really good account in history of this meeting through the eyes of Dr. John Logan, who was also present in that room. If you want to know more details about this incident, we'll put a link here for you. Now, for some time, the Maharaja actually spends a really good time in England. He's studying, he's attending parties, he's going to various charity events, He's also, going on different tours of England with different guides and learning new things. Throughout this time, he also has his close friends that became his friends in Fatehgarh with him. But soon afterwards, the Maharaja and his friends kind of have to part ways, because while he's a Maharaja and he's getting a pension, right? His friends need to do something of their lives. Now the Maharaja is finally coming to like a realization that, him and his friends have different paths in their lives. And we see that the vanity of experiencing new things and, the charm of visiting a new country is kind of wearing off on the Maharaja at this point. So what does the Maharaja do? He asks to be sent back to India. But the British are like, excuse me? No. Because that's not what they have in mind. They don't really want him to go back to India in case he starts another rebellion. So instead, the British basically convince him that, you know what? Then let us take you on a continental tour. You haven't seen the entire of Europe. By that, they mean France and Italy. Because from here onwards, Dr. Logan, Lady Logan, a guy called Ronald Melville, and Duleep Singh all set out for a 4-month-long tour of Italy and France. This tour starts in the December of 1856. On this tour, obviously, he visited a lot of places, but Duleep Singh not only explored Europe, he also explored further racism. Now, one such incident is when the party arrives in Cannes, where they were to attend a dinner. But the Maharaja basically catches a cold and he has to be excused out of the dinner. He doesn't go, but the rest of the party basically goes on with the dinner, right? Over there, the niece of the hostess basically ends up asking Lady Logan regarding the Maharaja that, is he really a blackamoor? And then she goes on to add, what is a blackamoor? And obviously the hosts are horrified and the aunt is basically shaming the little girl as to like, what are you saying? I'm so ashamed of you. And then the uncle jumps in and he's like, where did you hear this? So the niece innocently replies that, aunt, you said so just this morning to Miss Crow. So the Maharaja actually found this quite funny and he visited the niece the next day and kind of, met her properly. But see, it's weird to see that this kind of reaction is expected from everybody. Even if he's a Maharaja, it doesn't matter.
So the tour continued for a while, and the Maharaja visited all the major landmarks in Italy and France. But throughout his travels, he kept a very keen eye on any news coming out of India. And this led to him hearing about an event that occurred in India in the Oudh region in 1856. This greatly interested the Maharaja because Oudh was also a princely state that was annexed by the British. But the conditions provided to the ruler of Oudh was very different from what the Maharaja was provided on the annexation of Punjab. So the king of Oudh, Wajid Ali, wasn't even an independent ruler like Duleep Singh, but he was allowed to keep his sovereignty and authority in that region. Furthermore, he had rights to his palace in Lucknow and a park in Dilkusha. He had an annual compensation of 12 lakhs per annum and more compensation for hiring bodyguards and kind of settling all his family members comfortably. And the grand total per annum came out to be somewhere around 15 lakhs. And you'll understand why Duleep Singh was kind of upset or sad about this news. It's because he himself, although Punjab was a bigger region and he was a sovereign, he had more authority. He was given a compensation of 4 to 5 lakhs per annum, which is roughly around 40,000 pounds. And out of this money, he was expected to pay for all of his bodyguards, his own travel and residence. And sadly enough, they didn't even give him the complete 4 to 5 lakhs. In fact, when Duleep Singh turned 19, he asked that he handle his own monetary matters himself, and his compensation was increased to 15,000 pounds. Now, if we know the maths, and even if we don't, we understand that 40,000 can't be increased to 15,000. That means he was receiving way less money than that was even committed to him in the first place. He was very disturbed by this news. Nevertheless, the tour continued, and he went on to Rome, he saw the Vatican City, he went to Naples, and he was having kind of a mixed time, a grand time and a sad time at the same time. In Naples, he heard the news that there's been a mutiny in India. Now, let's be clear, the British call it mutiny, but a lot of historians and a lot of people from the subcontinent kind of call it a war of independence. Now, this war of independence was kind of a widespread phenomena, and one of the areas that it targeted specifically was Fatehgarh. And Fatehgarh was the British camp where the Maharaja had lived before coming to England. And it was exactly that the trip was meant to be just a trip and he had to return to Fatehgarh in his mind. So what do you do when you pack for a trip? You obviously don't pack your entire household. And that's what Dalip Singh did. All of his prized possessions and everything was in his Tosha Khana in Fatehgarh when the attack happened. And not just material possessions, a lot of his close acquaintances, friends, and family were kind of living in Fatehgarh, people who he had connected to. But during the war, the Maharaja's mansion was ransacked and burned to the ground, and almost all the British people in Fatehgarh camp were murdered. So after this news, the British made sure that Dalip Singh's plan to go to India was put to stop completely because they didn't want to add fuel to fire.
So, later in life, Maharaja Dalip Singh is basically known to recall all of this and all the false promises of getting an education. He was even said that, okay, if you can't get an education in British institutes, we'll make sure that your kids get an education in them. He called all of this and the discrepancy in the pension and how he was given less than he was promised. He's recalled to have called all of this a cruel mockery. And later in life, he's also known to recount that he realized how everything that the British had done when he was younger was to make an impression on him, was to basically impress him. Each move was calculated. All of his friends, Dr. Logan, somebody who he considered equal to his parents, was basically all paid for through his own expenses. And he had no idea until the time that he started handling his own money. And all of this definitely took a toll on Dalip Singh. And after the War of Independence took place in India, and Queen Victoria decided that the East India Company is not capable of handling India, and she took control of the entire region. Now, after this, after everything was basically settled, it was about 1859. So Maharaja Dalip Singh again began the quest of trying to go back to India. And now this time, what he had in mind was that he wanted to find his mother. And he started writing up petitions to the British that, let me go and meet my mother. And then Dr. Logan basically reaches out to the Council of India on behalf of Dalip Singh. And they finally hear back in 1860, where he was granted permission to go to India to meet his mother. But he was advised that you should not enter Punjab. And remember we mentioned that Dalip Singh eventually rebelled? Well, more on that, and his marriage, and his meeting with his mother who previously controlled the empire in the next video. Make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you don't miss out. Let us know what you think.